Welcome in, everyone, to the First Call podcast, TGIF to everyone. Jeff Siegel, Jeremy Plonk from First Bet and Express Bet. We handicap 8 stakes races over the course of the weekend. And, Jeff, we had our pick of many to go to this weekend. Santa Anita Derby Day, Wood Memorial Day in New York, opening weekend at Keeneland, Bluegrass, of course, the feature on Saturday. We probably could have done 16 stakes races this weekend.
Easily, but we chose the most important races, the grade ones. Some of these will have short prices, but these races are significant, not only in terms of the sport, but in terms of the gambling opportunities. I'm not dead sold on some of the favorites that are running, and I think we got a chance to make some money with these stakes races around the country. So we'll dive in and see what we can do.
Opening day at Keeneland, right about the time our podcast premieres and streams. Good luck to those of you playing Keeneland today on opening day. I've got some full card analysis at Keeneland.com if you want to check that out. Frank Caruli's got his late pick 4 set up for opening day at Keeneland in the blog section at expressbet.com and at news.first.com. So check out Frank's picks for opening day at Keeneland as well. Jeff's going to give you a little opening day bonus. We threw some Friday action here on the schedule. So for the benefit of those of you on YouTube, you can check out the schedule here and watching on Twitter. For those of you listening on our traditional audio channels, thanks for listening in once again. Here is the schedule of races we will have on this weekend's podcast. The Friday race, the Ashland Stakes, will kick things off in our handicapping. We'll stay at Keeneland at the top of the show to talk about Saturday's Appalachian, Madison, and Bluegrass. We've got turf, we got distaff sprinters, and we've got the Triple Crown hopefuls there. To Aqueduct, we go on a loaded card Saturday at the Big A, where the Carter on the undercard for sprinters in Grade 1 company will be joined by the Wood Memorial, the feature race there on the Triple Crown Trail. Those are the 2 stakes races on a loaded stakes program that we will look at. And at Santa Anita, it's Oaks and Derby Day, all in one. Great card at Santa Anita on Saturday. We'll take a look at those 2 co-feature races, the Santa Anita Oaks and the Santa Anita Derby. Players, you've got a plethora of reasons to jump in this weekend. Qualifiers for the Grade 1 Gamble at Keeneland. They're coming up on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. First 3 days of that meet. Play online at expressbet.com and get involved in that handicapping tournament series. Also, Derby Challenge on Saturday, a $1,500 tournament, and you can qualify for that in a $300 feeder today on Friday. So again, the $1,500 Santa Anita Derby Day Challenge coming up on Saturday. High roller tournament there. And Hawthorne's got a Saturday, Sunday tournament for just $40 feeder you can get involved with. And the Exactathon is back, $25,000 in the Exacta plays, boosted up by the payouts here at Express Bet and First Bet. If you can hit 6 exactas on the card at Keeneland on Saturday on the 11 race program, you'll share $20,000 in cash with other players at Express Bet or First Bet who also win 6 or more exactas. Generally, it's been about a $200-300 boost into your account if you're able to pull that off. So be sure to check that out. And if you have the most exactas of anybody on those 2 betting platforms at Keeneland on Saturday, you'll share $5,000 in cash with the other folks who have the most exactas on the card. So get involved. Exactathon coming up on Saturday. Once again, great promotion. I love these promotions that entice people to play wagers that are more hittable. The pick 5s, the pick 6s, they're very interesting. They can be lucrative, but Jeff, it's about the grind and the daily play, and things like the Exactathon, the 15% takeout reduction in the daily double at Keeneland. I like those 2 wagers, the double, the Exacta. These are plays that you can make educated, that you can make without a large investment, and you can keep building and boosting your bankroll that way. So I love those kind of promotions.
The double is the most overlooked good bet we offer, or anybody offers. Everybody's going for the 4s and the 5s and the 6s, which is great. But if you want to, churn it out and be a consistent ticket casher, that might be the way to go. On Santa Anita, when I put out my full card, I encourage people to play the rolling exotics, but that includes the double. I mean, I want people to cash, and sometimes those bets are ignored, and they should not be. So lots of opportunities, and we're here to lend our insight, and then let the player play what he wants to play.
And I'll tell you, we've got some other special wagers around the country this weekend. There's a Big Three Pick Three that goes with the three major Triple Crown prep races coming up on Saturday. That's a $3 minimum bet with an 18% takeout. Aqueduct, Keeneland, and Santa Anita teaming up with that one. So the Big Three Pick Three. Jeff and I will handicap all three of those races in this podcast. So be sure to stick around for that. And also in the Coast to Coast Pick 5, we've got a lot to talk about there this weekend, where Saturday's Coast to Coast Pick 5 has got a lineup of Santa Anita heavy racing, including the Santa Anita Derby. Here are the 5 races that will go in Saturday's Coast to Coast Pick 5. Race number 3 at Santa Anita, just about 4 o'clock Eastern. Race 8 from Gulfstream. Then the final 3 will also be from Santa Anita, races 7, 9, and 10, including the Santa Anita Derby. So races 3, 7, 9, 10 from Santa Anita. 1 race from Gulfstream on Saturday, that being race 8, part of the Coast to Coast Pick 5. And that Coast to Coast Pick 5, I mean, this is why people like to play the multi-race bets. The average pool size over $220,000 this season. The average payout in the Coast to Coast Pick 5, the dollar wager, has been over $14,000. And it was announced this week that they are going to extend the Coast to Coast Pick 5. You know, the championship meet is over at Gulfstream now. The Coast to Coast Pick 5 may have been thought to have gone away at the end of the championship meet. Not so fast. They're going to continue it through June 16th through the end of the meet, the spring meet at Santa Anita. So Coast to Coast Pick 5s continue Saturday and Sunday each week. And Jeff, this Sunday's Coast to Coast Pick 5 is going to be a big one because there's $100,000 from first that's going to be seeded into that pool on Sunday. So it's like the Coast to Coast Pick 5 on Sunday starts with a $100,000 carryover, and it's not your money they're playing for. It's first racing's money in that Coast to Coast Pick 5. So I don't have a graphic for the races, but if you want to handicap ahead, folks, here are the races for Sunday's Coast to Coast Pick 5 with that seeded pool. Santa Anita 3579, Santa Anita 3579, Gulfstream race 9. So again, it'll be a 4 Santa Anita, 1 Gulfstream race in that Sunday Coast to Coast Pick 5. Okay, Jeff Siegel, we've talked about all the different places to wager and wagers that are out there. There's a Kentucky Derby future wager that closes Saturday at 4 o'clock as well. No shortage of places and races to bet on this weekend. Let's find out which horses we're going to bet on. Let's start off with Friday's Ashland Stakes at Keeneland. This will be our first handicapping chore on the podcast for the week. The Ashland Stakes is just a little bit chaotic. 4 20-1 winners in the last 6 or 7 years of this race. Do we expect something a little crazy to happen in the Ashland Stakes, or are we looking for something a little closer to form? We have the rematched 1, 2, 3 finishers from last year's Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies in this one, including just FYI. Are we going to keep it close to the vest, or are we going to just rip the Band-Aid off?
Well, I tell you what, I'm looking at the horses coming back, like just FYI. Candide, who ran very well to be third, beaten 3/4 of a length in that race. And I don't get a warm and fuzzy feeling about either one of those two in this race. I've watched Candide work. I really like her. And of course, she won the grade 1 here last year on this track as a 2-year-old filly. So that's important to me. And she's never been a really good work filly. But I just don't. I've watched her works on video at XBTV, and she just does nothing for me. And maybe she's just one of these very lazy fillies and will outrun herself as she did last year. But I want to take a wait and see attitude with her. And then just FYI, I mean her pattern is not healthy at all. I don't think she's fit. I mean, maybe she is, but based on what I could see, I think she's going to need one. And then you have Impel, who is coming out of a maiden and a first level allowance, who doesn't have the quote unquote proven class that the other two have, but natural talent, Jeremy. Impel just blows me away. Loved her maiden win at Fairgrounds, and then came back at Oakland, and first time around 2 turns just galloped, and numbers wise she's very fast. Apparently she's doing well for Brad Cox. I think Impel is going to pick up where she left off at Oakland and continue her winning ways.
Let's take a look back at her race at Oakland when she stretched out to win that one. Mac Dinnerman on the mic.
Around the far turn, Hayek drops anchor. Impel, without being asked, takes the lead. Marisol Sugar on the outside right there. Tanya Showers 3 wide up into third. She's sent along now, and pun intended, in fourth in an all-out drive. Down the lane, let's see what Impel's got. Switches leads by a length and a half. Now it's 2. Now it's 2.5. Now it's 3. Impel going away. Marisol Sugar, Tanya Showers, pun intended, across the track, battling for minor awards. Impel, the daughter of Quality Road, takes to the route game, and there will be bigger and better things for her. Impel, romp.
Bigger and better starts in the Ashland this afternoon on Friday for Impel. We talked about last year's champion 2-year-old filly, Just FYI, the winner of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. Jeff said he's not getting the feeling that she's quite fit. Well, Jenny Reese, the Hall of Fame turf writer who now works for the Kentucky HBPA in their publicity department, does some great interviews online. You can check all those out at YouTube. She caught up with Bill Mott just a few days ago to talk about Just FYI, and I think it's a pretty telling interview, and I don't see a lot of confidence here. You listen in and tell me what you think.
Just FYI, the 2-year-old filly champion, unbeaten, untimely temperature. She spiked before the Devona Dale, and you had to regroup with her.
Right. Well, we were forced to scratch out of the Devona Dale. She developed a fever on race day. I mean, it wasn't something that we had any suspicions of or any thoughts about before the race or before shipping down to Gulfstream. But, you know, as the day went on, her temperature went up, and by noontime we decided to scratch.
And did you immediately start thinking about the Ashland, or were you thinking about
we already
Gulfstream
know
Park?
about those things. I mean, we know what races are available and what the options are. But number one, you hope that, you know, she gets over the virus that she had, and you know, we were lucky enough to get her back actually on track in a week's time. Had her back galloping and breezing, and we've got a couple breezes in her. And, you know, would I prefer to have another breeze in her, or breeze or two before we run? Probably, ideally, but if you're working backwards from the Kentucky Oaks and you have any visions of that in your mind, you know, you've got to go ahead and get a race in her. So we think she's doing well, and we're going to run on Saturday, but you know, I think the main thing is, you know, naturally we'd love to win the race, but we do need to get a race in her before we think about the Kentucky Oaks.
Physically, has she changed much from 2 to 3?
Well, she was a big Scopy filly at 2, and she's probably grown a little. I look at her every day, so I probably don't see it as much as somebody that hasn't seen her. But yes, I think she's grown. I think she's stretched out a little bit and filled out some.
Listening between the lines and between the words like if, got to, need, working backwards. These are not projecting forward kind of things. So I think that enthusiasm should be tempered for gambling on Just FYI today. If she runs well in the Ashland, she's something else, right, Jeff? I mean, the cards are stacked against her to run well in this particular start. If she does so, she's going to do on remarkable talent.
Well, and the other thing that you have to look at is that even if you thought Just FYI was ready to run the race of her life, and everything had gone well, she'd breezed like a champion, she's still rather significantly behind Impel in terms of speed figures. I mean, Impel is way faster anyway. So if you don't think Just FYI is not only going to run her race, but maybe even better than she's ever run, then it's going to be difficult for her. And I think the wagering might reflect that. Now, I know Just FYI hasn't been out since the Breeders' Cup in November, and theoretically she should be bigger and stronger and faster, and I'm sure eventually she will be. But that's a really good filly she's going to have to outrun in Impel, and I'm not expecting to see that. I think Impel is going to develop into being a high-class, top-class 3-year-old filly, and she's got to go out and do it today, but I think that's what's going to happen.
If this Ashland Stakes goes off the rails like it has so many times in recent years with a crazy long shot, 30-1 morning line, number 2 standout sensation will be the one who ends up in the winner's circle if it's to be. I know she's a former maiden claimer. I know she's never run in a stakes race, but if you question her class, I just asked you to look back 2 starts ago. She got beat 3/4 a length by Tarifa, who right now is 4-5 to win the Kentucky Oaks. She is the best 3-year-old filly in America. She took her to the brink in a Lowndes Company. She had blinkers, inside speed. Almost all these big upsets in the Ashland over the years have been horses on the front end. Remember my own 16th race, short run to the first turn, 16th pole finish line. If something crazy happens in the Ashland off of 2 bullet workouts, standout sensation is going to be the crazy one to do it this year. But she's got to beat some very, very, very good horses horses in there in the Ashland Stakes. Let's go to the Appalachian Stakes. The Appalachian is the race number 7 on the Saturday card at Keeneland. It's the first stakes race that will handicap in a series of, there's 4 or 5, and all stakes pick 5 going from races, 6 through 10 on the card Saturday at Keeneland. So the second stakes race on the program will be our first of Saturday to look at. This is the Appalachian Stakes at a mile on the turf. These are 3-year-old fillies. Trader Mark Cassie's had a lot of success in this race, winning it 3 times in the last 8 years. He's got a couple in here. He's got Dancing and Dixie drawn well in the 3-hole, and he's got Pounce towards the outside coming in from Gulfstream Park. Pounce is coming off a nice race last time out. We're going to go back to Pete Aiello's call at Gulfstream Park to give you a chance to see the Here Comes the Bride, won by Pounce late.
But Ozara traveling well. Gaffleon shakes the reins at Ozara. She tries to overhaul Mystic Lake with Life's Inaudible and Crown Imperial. Late run from Pounce, who's rolling down the center. They come past the 16th pole. Ozara not finding under pressure. Pounce tries to reach Life's Inaudible. Life's Inaudible. Pounce. Go.
Jeff, I know you like Pounce on top in here, and so do I. So we're on the same one in here. Hopefully she can handle the pressure of our weight of our expectations.
I think she will. And a couple of things about Pounce that really jumped off the page for me. First of all, she's obviously a perfect 2 for 2 on grass. Her numbers are monstrous on turf and so much better than her dirt or all-weather race. So she's clearly much more comfortable on turf. I also like the versatility. She won a first-level allowance at Gulfstream, gate to wire from an outside draw. She got over, established the pace, set fast fractions, and kept on going. And then in Here Comes the Bride, we just saw that, how far back she came. So she's a versatile filly who can win on the lead. She can come from way back. Again, speed figures are fast. She's lightly raced. I just think she's an exceptional turf filly. And 3-1 in the morning line, I think that's a fair price. But I just don't see any. There's some nice fillies in here. Don't get me wrong. It's a good, legitimate race at Keeneland, but I think Pounce is going to continue her winning ways and prove how much better she is on grass than she is on any other surface and continue to win. And I look for another major effort and a winning effort from Pounce.
We talk about the profile of the previous stakes, the Ashland, where upsets have been the norm. This has been a very formful race, the Appalachian, over the years. Favorites 8 of the last 17, and only one winner over 6-1 in the last 17 years. So this is a race where the good horses usually bring their game. They're expected to run well, and they should. I know the one poolside with Slim is a filly you liked last time in the Florida Oaks. She really looked good visually winning that race on a synthetic at Gulfstream prior. She's got the rail again, should be forwardly placed under Brian Hernandez. I give her a shot here. If you're looking for the exacta plays here on Saturday at Keeneland, that exactathon that we're talking about, Pounce on top. And I think poolside with Slim, the one to give some consideration in there. She didn't quite run to expectations at Tampa last time, Jeff, but she's got it in her. Let's see if she can reproduce that win on the synthetic 2 starts ago.
I like her. I mean, if Pounce wasn't in the race, I would give her a really good chance. I will say that I did like her very much at 5-1 in the Florida Oaks. No complaints. She had a perfect trip. She sat well. She had an inside draw that day and just kind of fell into a great spot. And she ran well. But I don't think she's quite where Pounce is at right now at this stage.
We go next to the 8th race on Saturday at Keeneland, where the Grade 1 Madison Stakes will be renewed. Goodnight Olive is retired. She's kind of had a stranglehold on these big Keeneland Stakes races over the last 2 seasons. With Goodnight Olive no longer in the mix, let's see who kind of takes the mantle in that division. We've got a couple big horses last year, fillies, who last year were amongst the best 3-year-olds in the country sprinting. They're back in a rematch. It's Vava, it's Alba Star. They ran 1-2 in the Raven Run. Again, that race was restricted to 3-year-olds. They come into the big blue waters of open company now in terms of age and facing their elders in stakes company. Do you think these two can come right back and repeat what they did here last time seen at Keeneland in October? I tend to think they can.
Oh, I do too. These are really good fillies. They were really, really good last year at 3, and there's no reason to believe that they won't be even better at 4. I love the draw for Vava outside. Ortiz can kind of pick his spot, dictate his trip. She likes to stalk. She's not a front runner, but from that outside draw, she can kind of cruise up in there outside and have dead aim into the far turn and then have every chance. Also love this pattern. I can't tell you how impressed I am with the development that Vava's had, the gun runner filly. Her Byron numbers have gone from 66 to 71 to 82 to 85 to 90 to 91 to 101 in the Raven Run, and that's when they put her away after a series of pretty competitive races. I mean, she had to lay her body down on a few of them, but they stopped on her after a tough campaign, brought her back. Looks like she's training very well for Cherie, and I think at 2-1 she's logical. I have a lot of respect for the very talented Alva Star, who ran so well against her. But I thought Vava beat her on the square when they ran against each other. And then you've got a few others in here that look pretty good. Red Carpet Ready. I loved her race at Gulfstream Park. She's fast on figs as well, and she's got that pace pressing style that you like. Who's to say this 4-year-old filly by Oscar Performance won't continue to get better as the sire did? And then you've got a 20-1 shot from Santa Anita called Big Pond, who's pretty fast on numbers. I don't know whether she's good enough to win, but if you look at the big price underneath, if you're playing exactas or trifectas, don't toss out Big Pond under Flavian Pratt. But for me, it's Vava. I think she's going to have a wonderful season this year as a 4-year-old.
Big Pond, she starts back, and the La Brea was beaten on the nose by Daddy's Ruby. That one came back and ran really nicely in Stakes Company at Oaklawn last weekend, running second there on the road. But it's the Raven Run rematch that we're looking at, maybe to run 1-2 again. Let's go back to Kurt Becker's call of last fall's Raven Run, where Vava was able to run down the front runner in that race, Alva Star.
To the top of the stretch. She's fifth. Lily Poo is in sixth, and Apple Picker last. They turn for home. Alva Star, the leader. Vava comes to the outside, and then Dazzling Blue out in the center of the track is in third. Here comes Vava trying to chase down Alva Star, and the battle is on, moving by the eighth pole. Alva Star maintains the lead by a length. Vava's there in second. Alva Star, Vava still trying, still there on the outside. Final furlong of the Lexus Raven Run. Vava right alongside of Alva Star. It is Vava, John Velasquez, to win the Lexus Raven Run by a half length over Alva Star.
Keeneland's 10th race on Saturday will be the Bluegrass Stakes, $1 million Grade 1 race here at 1 1/8 miles. Obviously a big prep towards the Triple Crown Series. One of those enigmas that it's been since Strike the Gold in 1991 that a Bluegrass winner went on to win the Kentucky Derby. We've seen some horses out of the Bluegrass have success in the Triple Crown Series since then. And of course, Street Sense won the Kentucky Derby in 2007 after being beaten in the Bluegrass Stakes. But Jeff, this is one of the deeper additions of the Bluegrass when you talk about top line contenders for this year's Kentucky Derby. You've got Dornoch, you've got Sierra Leone in there, you've got Just a Touch, a filly or a colt that I know that you've got a lot of interest in this particular spot. So very good field for the Bluegrass Stakes, one of the better ones we've seen on the trail this year.
I'm interested to see if Sierra Leone can build on what he did in the Risen Star. I love the colt in terms of his potential in longer races like the Derby and the Preakness and the Belmont. This is not going to be an easy task for him from an outside draw at Keeneland. So if he were to win this race, and I would not be surprised if he did, then he would at least give us something to think about for Saturday in May. But I think from a gambling standpoint at 2-1, I would look elsewhere. Now, Just a Touch is a justified colt. Now, he's had 2 races over a sloppy track, and they were both really, really good. Question is, has he been good because of the off track, or maybe he would be even better on fast ground? That's what I'm interested in seeing. I loved his maiden win at Fairgrounds. He just skipped over the wet track and won for fun. I was a little disappointed in the Gotham just because I thought he was the goods, and he still may be. But then what about Deterministic, who beat him? He might really be the good. So I think from a pace standpoint, Just a Touch is going to fold in and get a great stalking trip in a race that I don't think is going to produce fast fractions. He's going to have dead aim. He's going to have every chance. He's going to have fast ground. And I'm going to find out just how good Just a Touch is. And I think he is really, really good. And I look at the 2 breezes he's had since his last race. They've been exceptional. I think Brad Cox train colt is ready to step forward in a big way. We'll find out just how good he is.
And Deterministic's going to run in the Wood Memorial a little bit before this race. So you're going to kind of know how the Gotham winner came back and fared in the Wood Memorial before you have to bet on Just a Touch here in the Bluegrass Stakes. You mentioned Brad Cox, the trainer of Just a Touch. Jenny Reese caught up with Brad Cox a few days ago to talk about this runner. And also Encino. He's got 2 in here. Of course, Encino coming off a nice win at Turfway in the John Battaglia Memorial. So here's Brad Cox with Jenny Reese.
Brad, just a touch going in the Bluegrass Stakes, off just 2 races, a maiden win, sprint, and then second in the Gotham. Talk about him and the step he's taken.
Yeah, he's a very talented horse. He's kind of showed talent from day one. Come out with a 2-year-old sale. A little late to get to the races, but kind of by design. Covers a lot of ground. Good moving horse. Real classy to deal with. So I think we're in a good spot. Really we've kind of targeted the Bluegrass for a while. Thought the race in New York made sense for him. Raced a little wide there. To see some good figures, and I think he can build off of it. And he's had 2 works over Keeneland. They've been really, really good.
Well, we know the entries, and it's going to have 2 of the best 3-year-olds, most accomplished 3-year-olds in Dornoch, the Remsen Fountain of Youth winner, and in the Risen Star winner in Sierra Leone. Talk about taking on those horses.
Well, obviously they got a little bit more seasoning. Got to the races a little earlier, but this horse. I mean, I think he's one of our better 3-year-olds, and I'm excited about running against those colts, and hopefully we can stack up with them. Obviously, it is a step up. It's a grade 1. It's a real grade 1. I mean, it's a very, very good race. Looks to be one of the better Derby preps run so far, or could be. So we'll see how he stacks up with that group.
So you've got Encino, who won the Battaglia. He is making his 4th career start and his first on dirt.
Yeah. He's had a couple works over there at Keeneland. He seems to be traveling well on. We actually picked him up last fall. He went directly to Turfway, so we didn't have any experience with him on the dirt, but he had trained on the dirt prior to coming to us and trained well enough. So, like I said, he's had 2 moves over there at Keeneland. He handled it fine. You never really know. Obviously, he is drawn outside. He did draw outside in the Battaglia as well, and he's able to overcome that. But he's a horse that definitely improved over the last few months, and seems to be getting better than just with training and racing and moving forward. So he's bred to get the distance and handle the dirt. We'll see if he can.
Why was he at Turfway?
That's just where he started. He started. He was in Lexington training at Thoroughbred Training Center, and he shipped to us, and that's where
It just made sense.
Yeah, it made sense, and got him going, and he did nothing wrong on the synthetic, so we didn't change anything. And we're going to give him an opportunity on dirt. We've had several horses start on the synthetic. Idiomatic started on the synthetic and transferred over to the dirt. So, just because they run well on one surface doesn't mean they're married to it, and they have to stay there.
So if he turns out like Idiomatic, it'll be quite a campaign for Encino. I did like his race, though, in the Battaglia when he ran down Epic Ride, who's back in this race as well. Epic Ride, a very talented 3-year-old at Turfway. I think he's got some distance limitations. The 1 1/8 for Epic Ride, probably not going to be his best trip, but Encino was able to run him down last time. Outside draws, not going to be any gift here, obviously, but at 1 1/8, they have a little longer run to the first turn. Not as big of a deal, maybe, as it would be in a shorter race at Keeneland. But this race has got some options to it, Jeff. I mean, Dornoch could obviously come back and win this race. Nobody would be surprised. We'd be not surprised at all if Sierra Leone wins this race, doubling down on his last. Just a touch could make the rise here in distance and be one of the top 3-year-olds in the country. I mean, he's got that kind of potential. This is a good race, and there's a lot of depth to it. Somebody good's going to run 4th and not have their number in the trifecta in this spot. It's a good one.
It really is. I mean, this is a legit grade 1 for 3-year-olds. I think my own way of looking at it is in terms of the depth of the field and the resume that some of these horses have that are 20-1 or 15-1. This might be the toughest prep we've seen. And remember the days when the Bluegrass used to be like 9 days before the Kentucky?
Yeah, that was the Thursday before.
Those days are gone. What. And I think that's
when Ali Sheba ran in there. Ali Sheba got disqualified, won the Bluegrass against War, the horse named War, then got disqualified. 9 days later, won the Kentucky Derby. So that was 86. It wasn't a million years ago, but man, 86 is almost 40 now. So I guess times have certainly changed with the Bluegrass.
40 years is a long time, but it just goes to show you how trainers and horsemen have adjusted their thinking. They used to be 9 days before. A lot of trainers wanted to have it right on top of the Derby. Hey, we used to have the Derby trial on Tuesday before the Derby.
Yeah.
And that produced Kentucky Derby winners. Now it's a whole different game. But I like the timing for Just a Touch. I like what they've done with Sierra Leone, Chad Brown. And there's a few others in here that Dornoch's got a proper campaign. This is a legitimate race. We're going to learn a lot, not only about who among these are the best, but who of anybody has a legitimate chance to win the Kentucky Derby with that monster Fletcher got. We've got to
fierceness awaits whoever comes out of this weekend's races,
exactly,
right?
All right, we'll see. It's a good gambling race, though, whoever you like.
Let's move to Aqueduct on Saturday, where a series of stakes races includes the Grade 2 card. I called it Grade 1 early. Used to be a Grade 1. 5-horse field in this one, and all eyes for me, Jeff, are going to be on Post Time. You know I've liked this horse coming out of Maryland for some time. We're going to get a chance to see his General George win in just a bit. He's won 3 in a row, and he's a loss at Keeneland, a good third in the Perryville, away from, 7 wins in a row? I mean, he put together 4, then got beat once, or he'd have 8 in a row if not for that one. He's 7 for 8 lifetime. Brittany Russell, Sheldon Russell, the wife-husband combination, trainer-jockey, going to get a chance against the big time here. They took a shot at Keeneland in the Perryville last year as a 3-year-old. Certainly did not get embarrassed in that race against Raise Kane. This field doesn't look super difficult. So if you're going to step up, I think they caught the right place at the right time with Post Time.
He looks like a prototype late-running sprinter, or at least a one-turn horse. Never actually. He has one going a mile, which not only was the biggest margin of victory, but also his top buyer number. So I don't think it's distance. It's more style that he likes to settle. And he's the kind of horse that doesn't, I mean, from what I've seen, he's not real happy running on turns. But once he's straightened for home and he gets his momentum going, he really can explode. And at Aqueduct, there's a long run in from the top of the stretch to the wire. This race looks perfectly suited for Post Time to continue his winning ways. He can handle any kind of track, off track or fast, and 8 to 5 on the morning line. I don't think he's going to be that price. I think he'll be shorter, but I want to watch him run because he's a neat horse. He's a 4-year-old colt who's won 7 out of 8. And eventually, if he continues to win like that, we're going to see him maybe in a race like the Met Mile or something like that. But for this, former Grade 1 race, it's a good stepping stone. I like him to win the Carter, and I like him to win it in style.
His General George win, we're going to show you now with Dave Rodman on the call. For about 85% of it, you're going to say, why are they bothering to show me this race? This horse is nothing exceptional. Then you're going to see about the last 12 strides of the race, and you're going to go, okay, I get it now. Here's Post Time in the General George.
Toward the top of the stretch, half mile, 46.61. They still got to catch. 7's 11. 7's 11 the leader. Tenebris up on the outside to whip up a rally. Nimitz Class in between horses. Post Time's also in between. Going to be taken to the outside now. Is Post Time by Sheldon Russell. Way the center of the track. Still has work cut out for Post Time. Post Time, no. Kicks in that gear. Here's Post Time. Post Time on the outside. Post Time in 7's 11. Post Time kicks away with authority late. Post Time to win. Going away by 3. 7's 11 in Tenebris, and then it was Nimitz Class in 1:23.33 in the General George.
That's kind of video game-ish where you hit the B button for speed, when you're trying to get a little extra acceleration. That's what he had. I don't know how long he can sustain that kind of acceleration, but man, he's got it. So if he's within shouting distance of the pack in this small field in mid-stretch, it's probably going to be lights out from that point on. Looking forward to seeing Post Time in the Carter, race number 4. Really exciting Maryland bred there. Let's go to the Wood Memorial now. Race number 10 at Aqueduct on Saturday. This is the feature race in New York towards the Triple Crown. 20 horses out of the Wood Memorial all time have gone on to win the Kentucky Derby, but not for a while. You got to go back to Funny Side and Empire Maker till they really had any real impact on the first Saturday in May. That was back in 2003. Will we have a major Derby contender out of this year's Wood Memorial? 13 of them are going to line up all the way to the outside to 13th. Uncle Heavy, off since winning the Withers at 1 mile and 1/8. Deterministic won the Gotham Stakes last time out. El Grandeo's been a part of the entire 3-year-old series. So these are some familiar winter warriors to Aqueduct. You also have some horses shipping north from Florida that are interesting in here. Resilience via a race at Fairgrounds, but has been based down at Gulfstream for Bill Mott. You've got Todd Pletcher bringing some up. You've got Merritt coming north for Safi Joseph. Safi, of course, won this race with Lord Miles last year at 50-60 to 1, coming north from Florida. Tuscan Sky for Pletcher coming north from Florida. This is an interesting race of the locals who have been burrowed in the cold versus the horses coming back north, the Snowbirds. Jeff, what is your take on this year's Wood Memorial?
Well, when I was handicapping the Gotham Stakes, I kind of dismissed Deterministic, not only because he was coming off just a maiden win and he hadn't been out since August. But I was so sold really on Just a Touch that I didn't want to hear anything about anybody else. You know what I'm saying? So when Deterministic wore him down and did it like he was the better of the two, it was nothing flukish. I said, okay, I'll go back and watch his maiden win on video to see if maybe I missed something. Boy, did I miss something. I mean, if you go back and watch the Saratoga maiden win, this colt looked like a superstar. He won by a half length. He didn't break at all. He was in a pocket. He was blocked. He was shuffled back. He ran into a roadblock. He finally got clear. He made that stupid, ridiculous, premature 7-wide move on the point of the turn at Saratoga that never works. And I expected him to move up and then flatten out. He kept coming. He just kept relentlessly coming. And then he won, and then he had an issue, and they stopped on him. If I had seen that, if I had bothered to put in the work in that race, I wasn't so blown away with Just a Touch, maybe I would have made a decision that was different. I don't think I would have, but he came back, and when he won the Gotham, I said, okay, that horse is for real. He's never been 2 turns, and he's been on a fast track and off track. But I'm telling you, on pure, natural, God-given talent, I don't think Deterministic has to take a back seat to just about anybody in this field. And I think he's going to show it. Now, is he a gamble at 7-5? Not really, probably, but boy, I'm over the top with this colt. I think Christophe Lamont's got himself not only the winner of the Wood Memorial, but I think he's got a chance to win some serious races this summer. We'll see.
High praise. Let's go back and watch that Gotham in the slot.
Head as they reach the top of the stretch, 46-3 for the half-mile time, 110-4 for 3/4. El Grandeo has got the lead in the Gotham. It's El Grandeo out in the center of the racetrack. Maximus Meridius is battling on, chasing his Deterministic in between horses. El Grandeo, but here comes Deterministic in full gear down towards the inside and takes the lead. It's Deterministic who's in front, is up by a length and a half. Just a touch into second. Deterministic wins the Gotham. Deterministic over Just a Touch. Then came El Grandeo in 1 minute 36.37 seconds.
Chris Griffin with the call there. He's been in the news this week with John Embrial's retirement yesterday. Chris Griffin promoted to the full-time Aqueduct race caller duties there in New York and the southern part of the state. Frank Miramati will continue to call the races at Saratoga on the NYRA circuit. So happy retirement, best in retirement to John Embrial. And congrats to Chris Griffin there on the big career promotion. Deterministic, you mentioned, Jeff, this will be the first time around 2 turns. Pedigree says you got to be a little bit concerned here. Liam's Map was a miler out of a Speightstown mare. Speightstown does get some distance horses, but he was best as a sprinter. So we shall see. It's one of those, if he proves it, he's going to be one of the tops in this division. At worst, he's going to be one of the best middle distance horses in this division because, like you said, he is absolutely dripping in talent. I took a shot in here with Resilience. This is a horse I've been high on. Just to love the pedigree in here. Dam side stamina, just begging to go longer. A good race last time out in the Risen Star, where he was kind of having to do the dirty work, where Track Phantom was lone speed that day, and this horse was pressing closer to the pace than probably what they wanted him to be in that particular spot from an outside draw. Then just came up a little bit empty on the first time in Stakes Company, but we know that Risen Star was high class. Sierra Leone, Track Phantom, Catching Freedom, the third place finishers already come back to win the Louisiana Derby. So I think Resilience has a big chance in there. And that Johnny V is up here riding and not at Keeneland for the day, I think is rather significant because Keeneland's got 5-6 stakes races on Saturday. Johnny's not loaded with some other horse on the undercard. That the reason that he's there to ride Resilience in the Wood Memorial. This could be a Kentucky Derby mount if not for being the pilot of Fierceness, obviously. Yeah. Johnny is booked, but the fact that he wants to ride this horse for the money on Saturday tells me I think they think they have a big chance to win this for $750.
Inside draw with first-time blinkers. Last time he had an outside draw. They kind of snuggled him off a very slow pace. I don't know whether that did Resilience any good. I hope they let him roll out of there, take advantage of the rail. I'm not saying he'll be in front, but with the blinkers on, he should be able to step out of there and get into rhythm and run very well. Who's to say until he does it that Deterministic will run as well 2-turning as he will, right, or as he had 1 turn. That to me is the hurdle that he really has to take. Not so much that I don't think he's good enough to win, but he's got to show that he's just as effective 2-turning. And That to me is the key to the race. And if he doesn't, then Resilience at 6-1 might be worth a little bit of a backup gamble.
Let's go to Santa Anita on Saturday, where it is Derby Day at the Great Race Place, also the Oaks. We're going to start off with the Santa Anita Oaks, where just a field of 5 in here, and all eyes are going to be on the undefeated Kinza. She's 3 for 3 in her career by more than 14 lengths, most recently winning the Santa Isabel in pretty much geared down style. Let's go back to Frank Miramati's call of the Santa Isabel, won by Kinza.
Kinza in command, turns for home with a 4-length lead that keeps increasing. She's a Tempest. Where's my ring? Outside Ultimate Authority continues to gain some ground, but Kinza is completely in control. And this is another tour de force for the undefeated Kinza, who could not have possibly been more impressive in winning the Santa Isabel, wrapped up by more than 5 lengths.
There have been some impressive performances by the 3-year-old fillies on the West Coast. Copian was one that we thought could be in that league, and she couldn't run with her in the Lost Virginess when beaten by 2 lengths. Kinza's had a start since then, so now Copian comes in a little fresher than Kinza. Is it just a matchup of those two again here in this 5-horse field?
It is, and Kinza handled Copian rather convincingly when they met in the Lost Virginess. But that was back in mid-February. I don't think that was Copian's best race. She's had some time off now, almost a couple of months. The work tablet is very impressive, and I like the fact that she's drawn outside Kinza because you can, use Kinza as a target. Now that might not work. Kinza might, open up early and never look back. So to me, I think, if you look at this race, it's going to be a match race again, and I do think that Kinza, all 3 of her races have earned 90-plus buyer numbers. She's fast on figs. She too has been training really well, and she's 4 to 5. But it's a match race, and I think that Copian might have a better chance in this race to give it a little bit better go of it than when she was pretty much handled with ease when they met back in February.
That's race 6 Saturday at Santa Anita, the Santa Anita Oaks. Want to remind you that race number 9 on the card in Stakes Company is the Monrovia. I chose that one as the Express Bet race of the week, so you can check out my analysis of the Monrovia Stakes at the blog section, expressbet.com, and also at news.first.com. The Monrovia Stakes are Express Bet race of the week. To the Santa Anita Derby we go on Saturday at the Great Race Place. A field of 8 has entered in this one. Bob Baffert's won this race 8 times officially. Of course, Justify would be his 9th, but that 2018 race has finally been adjudicated and money officially distributed to Bolt d'Oro and Mick Ruiz and company with the disqualification of Justification. So Baffert will try to reload and win his 9th again, I guess, in those kind of terms. And he's got 2 shots to do it with Imagination, the 8 to 5 morning line favorite, and then the longer price, the Los Al Futurity winner, Winstock, trying to bounce back off a bad effort at Oaklawn last time. Is this Baffert again? Do we have somebody else we can think about here, Jeff? He just seems to have a stranglehold on the Southern California 3-year-old stakes.
Yeah, I'm looking at this race, and I really like May Moon in here. Where is he?
Where is May Moon?
I don't see him in the entries. What happened? That's the horse that everybody was talking about, including us. And all of a sudden, he had a breeze on Tuesday, and there's no May Moon. So there may be a story behind that. Right. We'll have to do a little digging on that because I haven't read anything about it. I mean, that was supposed to be his race. And, of course, the undefeated Colt, so impressive. And now all of a sudden, he is not here. Now, as far as Imagination is concerned, he's a pretty good Colt himself. Not as brilliant, not as fast on figs, but fast enough to win this. Mm-hmm. And he's had a really good recent breeze. I expect Imagination. Maybe Bob decided to not run May Moon because he thought he could win it with Imagination, and he might, So I eventually looked at him as a gamble. I think he's going to be a shorter price than the one I'm actually going to bet on, and that's the improving number 3 Stronghold. Now, if you look at Stronghold's form, you would say, well, he was second to Winstock. I don't really like Winstock. Then he won at Sunland Derby. That doesn't prove anything. So why would I like Stronghold? Well, he's a son of Go Sapper. He has looked unbelievably good in the morning. I think he is progressing very, very well and very fast for Phil D'Amato. He's trailing this workout. He's 3rd of 3 here against 2 older graded stakes-winning turf horses. They're good horses, Notorious and Gold Phoenix. And the way that Stronghold blew them away in 58 and 2, fastest of 60 or whatever it was. This, to me, was something that I had never seen from Stronghold before. I don't like to bet strictly on workouts, but this one was so impressive that he kind of swayed me going to mile an eighth, Jeremy. And the way he's going to blow on by here, just under wraps, to me was extremely significant.
This is as good a three-team drill as you're ever going to see with horses' resumes. I mean, these are Gold Phoenix and Motorius are real race horses, older horses, and Stronghold goes by them easily. Yes, they are turf horses, and he's working on his preferred surface here in being the dirt. But this is an outstanding work from Stronghold. Look, Phil D'Amato, we know him for all of his turf success. He's working with two excellent turf horses here. D'Amato looking to get to the Kentucky Derby for the first time, and this horse at Sunland finished up fairly well in there. There wasn't much in the race, but he was able to draw clear of him in the end. Lucky Jeremy, who was in that race, came back and has run since and didn't really flatter the form of that particular spot. So for Stronghold, you can't look at his past running lines and feel great about his chances as a Kentucky Derby horse, but it starts Saturday for him. I mean, if he can put an effort together against those couple Baffert horses in there, win stock, it would show his improvement because we know he's run head-to-head with Winstock. If he's suddenly 6, 8, 10 lengths better than Winstock now, that's a sign that he's moving the right direction. And if he can beat Imagination, that's a very quality 3-year-old. I mean, Imagination obviously won't be in the Kentucky Derby, but he's a legitimate Preakness type contender in here. Same connections that had National Treasure run fourth in this race and then came back and won the Preakness. So, like, Imagination feels like National Treasure, and he could very well be a horse that you're talking about on Preakness Day. So, if Stronghold can beat him on Saturday, he shows that he belongs in the top 10 or so of the division and heads to Kentucky as a legitimate runner. I mean, there's nothing wrong with his resume. 5 starts, 5 exacta finishes. He just needs to beat somebody good, and this is his really main chance to do it.
He didn't run badly last November against Nisos. That's nothing to sneeze about. So I think that Stronghold is something that the only way you can gamble on him, as I'm going to try to do, is to expect that he's going to step forward again, as the Ghost Sappers usually do at the stage of their career. So that's the gamble. But Imagination is pretty solid. I mean, he's a pretty solid colt. And, it would be interesting to see where he's at. Who's to say he won't continue to improve? So it's a good race. I wish Maymoon had been in it, but maybe we'll find out something about him later on down the road that maybe precluded his entrance in this race. But still a good race for the Sanity Derby. It's still a grade 1 event. That's important. Money's important. And it's a long year for 3-year-olds. Just because the winner, if it is Imagination, can't go to the Derby, doesn't mean he can't make a lot of noise after that. And the same could go for Stronghold. So we'll see. Good race.
Sometimes you got to edit yourself on the fly when we do these podcasts. We're talking a lot, and you get comfortable because you really know a horse. And like you were talking about, you were so confident in Just a Touch going into the Gotham last time that Deterministic kind of slid under your radar. I just commented that Stronghold needs to beat a good horse for the first time. I forgot the fact that, glancing down his past performances while you were talking, he ran in Kentucky as a 2-year-old and beat Resilience and Track Phantom in probably the best maiden race in America, looking back on it now. Last year, I mean, of course, Resilience is maybe the horse that's going to run top 2, top 3 in the Wood Memorial. I think he's going to run a big one. Track Phantom was definitely one of the top 2 or 3 horses at Fairgrounds throughout the course of the entire Louisiana Derby series. So Stronghold on the road in Kentucky did already beat 2 very legitimate 3-year-olds, but his chance to really punch himself as a big Kentucky Derby contender starts Saturday, or closes Saturday. It's his final chance to make a statement Saturday. So Stronghold's one of those horses probably in the Kentucky Derby future wager is going to be a massive number. I don't think anybody's going to give him much consideration, and the pool's going to close before they run the Santa Anita Derby on Saturday. He might not be a bad gamble for the Kentucky Derby future wager, because if he wins the Santa Anita Derby, he probably goes to Louisville in the 10, 12 to 1 range, something like that, as the 4th, 5th choice in the Kentucky Derby. And instead, you might be looking at a horse who's 80, 70, 80 to 1 in that 40 horse Kentucky Derby future wager. So that's the kind of thing for the future wager you want to kind of be shopping around for on Saturday. Horses that you think are going to be bet lower in the Derby than they are right now, and getting like that super value out of them. some of those horses running on Saturday who will get to make that statement after the pool closes for the future wager could be a good bet. And we talked about this earlier in the week, and I wrote about it in Countdown to the Crown. Look at the exacta wager for the Kentucky Derby futures on Saturday, because there are 40 betting interests. So there's like 1,600 different ways the exacta combinations can turn in. And when you get to the Kentucky Derby, that reduces way down to less than 400 combinations in the exactas. Yeah. So you're going to get a really good payoff if you like a horse in the Kentucky Derby future wager this weekend. Instead of just betting 20 on him to win, play him over 10 different horses in exactas and try to catch the exacta maybe on Derby day because you're going to get rewarded, I think, with a nice payoff given the math and the field sizes for that future wager. Okay, that's going to wrap up our handicapping of the Santa Anita Derby and all of our races this week on the podcast. Again, want to remind you that Santa Anita Derby is going to team up with the Bluegrass and the Wood Memorial for the Big Three Pick 3. That race sequence will be offered on Saturday. Aqueduct, the host track on that one. 18% takeout, $3 minimum wager, Big Three Pick 3. And then on Saturday, Coast to Coast Pick 5 lines up this way, beginning at Santa Anita in race number 3 and ending with the Santa Anita Derby. And then Sunday's Coast to Coast Pick 5 will have that $100,000 seeded pool to it. Jeff, a lot to go over. We've got Keeneland live racing about to start as this podcast rolls. So it's going to be a great Friday and a great weekend of racing. And you and I get to wrap it all up on Tuesday when we meet again.
I tell you, this is a rare week or a rare time where usually you have these 3 important prep races for the Derby, and 1 or 2 of them are really significant. The third one, well, even whoever wins, not really that good. But this race, these 3 races, all have legitimate, potentially top-class runners in them. And this is going to be fun and good gambling, I think. And can't wait for the weekend on not only locally here where I am at Santa Anita, but around the country in the Midwest and in the East as well. Great racing ahead.
All right. We'll see you on Tuesday for the It's Official podcast, or on the It's Official podcast, where we review everything that happened over the course of the week. And I can't keep it straight. There's so much going on. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you Tuesday.